Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, SpaceX rewrites financial history, an AI titan gets stabbed in the back by a key ally, and Meta's code bots are breaking the internet. Let's get into the deep dive.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack today.
There really is, and, for you listening right now, our whole mission today is to synthesize the raw, real-time pulse of the markets, the tech innovations, and the cultural flashpoints from today's top X posts. So we're just going to jump right into it.
Let's do it.
We have to start with the NASDAQ. It's the single biggest market event in history. So according to a breakdown by the Kobisi letter account, the NASDAQ literally had to halt the initial trading of the new SpaceX ticker, which is SPCX, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, they had to halt it for a few hours this morning just to ensure an orderly debut. And the raw numbers are just, they're staggering.
Staggering is honestly an understatement.
Right. So they priced at $135 a share, raising $75 billion. That initially values the company at $1.8 trillion. And the official SpaceX account just posted a single word about it. They just said, liftoff.
Which is very on brand for them.
Oh, totally. But the real story here isn't just the valuation itself, it's the mechanics of how this thing is actually trading. Because they tokenized the SPCX shares on Solana via Backpack Securities and Sunrise. So it's trading 24/7.
Which is wild because that completely shatters how traditional equities work. If you've ever bought a stock, you know the market closes at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Right, exactly.
The weekend hits and everything just freezes. Like if news breaks on a Saturday, you have to sit there and wait until Monday morning to react. And by then, the institutional algorithms have already priced the whole thing in.
Yeah, the retail guys always get left behind.
Exactly. But tokenization changes that entirely. Backpack Securities essentially took the legal ownership of these SpaceX shares, they wrapped them in a digital contract on the Solana blockchain, and now they trade like crypto. It literally never sleeps.
Never sleeps.
But, what's fascinating to me is the underlying reality of the valuation itself. Because if you look at the data posted by the Unusual Whales account, SpaceX didn't just hold that $1.8 trillion valuation.
Yeah. No, it went way up.
Yeah, once trading actually opened, it closed near $161 a share. That rockets it to a $2 trillion market cap. That makes it the 7th most valuable company in the entire world.
Just on day one.
Right. And I have to ask the cynical second-order question here.
Go for it.
How does a company with roughly $17 billion in projected fiscal year 2025 revenue, operating at multi-billion-dollar net losses, justify a $2 trillion cap? Are investors actually buying a fundamentally sound business, or are they just pricing in a pure speculative vibe?
I hear the cynicism, I really do. But I think we have to look at what they are actually building here.
Okay.
Because valuing SpaceX on their current rocket launch revenue, it's kind of like trying to value the East India Company before their ships actually sailed.
Well, that's a bold comparison.
But it's true. You aren't buying the satellite deployments of today. You are buying the foundational infrastructure of a multiplanetary economy for tomorrow. You're buying Starlink's global monopoly on internet access. You're buying Starship's total reusability, which lowers the cost of orbit to pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, the Starship stuff is objectively impressive.
Right. And don't forget the off-planet AI server farms they're planning. Plus, you absolutely cannot ignore the human element driving this stock.
You mean Elon?
Exactly. A post from Watcher Guru confirmed this IPO officially made Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. His net worth is now over $1.1 trillion, basically driven by his 38% stake in the company. The market is pricing in the founder's sheer force of will just as much as the balance sheet.
It is an extraordinary concentration of wealth. There's no doubt about that. But that is exactly my concern here.
Why?
Because when you introduce 2047 retail tokenization to an asset that is so heavily driven by personality and narrative, you are injecting pure, unfiltered volatility into a $2 trillion asset.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right. Like if Musk posts something controversial at 3 a.m. on a Sunday, the stock will instantly swing by tens of billions of dollars. Because there are no circuit breakers on the blockchain.
That's true, but that volatility might actually be a feature, not a bug, for this specific investor base.
Do you think so?
Yeah, it's a deeply emotional market. Look at Aravind Srinivas, the CEO of Perplexity AI. He posted this incredible clip from an old 60 Minutes interview with Musk.
Oh, I think I saw this one.
Yeah, Musk is literally crying on camera, talking about how his own astronaut heroes doubted him, and he just stares right at the interviewer and says, "I don't ever give up."
Yeah, that's a powerful clip.
It really is. And Srinivas tied that historic clip back to the recent Starship Flight 7 successes, like when they caught that massive rocket booster out of the air with his mechanical arms.
Nazis, yeah.
Exactly. That kind of imagery, it creates narrative armor around the stock. Peter Diamandis put up a viral post that I think perfectly captured the market psychology right now. He just wrote, "Pessimists sound smart, optimists build the world."
Well, right now, the market is heavily subsidizing that optimism, that's for sure. I mean, it funds the rockets and the $75 billion IPOs. But the thing is, SpaceX is allowed to operate with that unbridled optimism because they essentially are the infrastructure.
Right.
But when we shift our focus from space down to silicon, specifically artificial intelligence, the dynamic completely flips.
Oh, 180 degrees.
Yeah. The government is not letting anyone build an infrastructure monopoly in AI without a brutal, brutal fight. Down here on Earth, pessimism and paranoia are actively being weaponized.
Which brings us perfectly to the regulatory bloodbath hitting the AI sector today. So according to a report from TechCrunch, the U.S. government just pulled the plug on Anthropic's most powerful AI models.
Mythos 5 and Fable 5.
Yep, both of them. They invoked national security and export controls to force the shutdown, and they cited a reported jailbreak in Fable 5 where the model apparently bypassed its own safety guardrails.
Right.
And the grand irony here, is that Anthropic has historically been the loudest, most cautious voice in the room regarding AI safety. Oh, completely.
They literally published the research detailing how models could be manipulated, and those very same safety warnings essentially accelerated this government crackdown.
It's kind of the ultimate paradox of being the hall monitor, right?
Totally.
But we really have to look at the underlying mechanics of this shutdown. Because this was not just a random audit by the Department of Commerce.
There wasn't.
No, not at all. You have to ask, who actually benefits from Anthropic's flagship models being ripped offline? If you look at the explosive context provided by the Theo account on X, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that it was actually Amazon who intentionally reported these jailbreaks to the federal government.
Wait, really? Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon. Theo shared internal logs detailing how Amazon researchers deliberately used highly sophisticated prompt injection techniques. Like, they forced Fable 5 to produce restricted security vulnerabilities.
Oh, wow.
They manufactured the jailbreak and then handed the evidence straight to the regulators to trigger the ban.
Okay, wait, hold on. I mean, Amazon has invested billions of dollars into Anthropic.
Yep.
They are Anthropic's primary partner for cloud computing on AWS. And they rely on Claude models for their own enterprise clients. Why on earth would Amazon nuke its own billion-dollar investment? I mean, that seems entirely counterintuitive.
Because it's a tactical strike. It is a textbook example of regulatory capture.
Explain that for our listeners.
So regulatory capture is when a massive corporation uses government agencies and regulations, which are, supposed to protect the public, to advance their own commercial interests instead.
Right.
Amazon has their own internal AI models they're developing. And right now, Anthropic's Mythos 5 is arguably light years ahead of what Amazon has built in-house.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah. So if you're Amazon and you realize your partner is becoming too powerful and might eventually outgrow you, what do?
You kneecap them. Exactly. You use federal export controls and national security levers to hit the brakes. You ground their best product under the guise of, quote-unquote, public safety, while you quietly catch up. You are basically weaponizing the United States government as an instrument of corporate sabotage.
Okay, to put this in perspective for you guys listening to this unfold, this is basically like a parent calling the cops on their own kid to stop them from winning a science fair, just because another kid might get jealous.
That's a great way to put it.
Or like an airline lobbying to ground a rival's jet. It has nothing to do with actual safety. It's weaponizing the rule book to protect your moat. I mean, if corporate titans are now using export controls to assassinate their own partners' products, the open, collaborative era of AI research is entirely dead.
It's completely dead. The moat in Silicon Valley isn't just having the most elegant neural network architecture anymore.
What is it then?
The moat is having the most ruthless lobbying team in Washington. I mean, if a giant like Amazon can easily weaponize the Department of Commerce to sideline a frontier model like Mythos 5, the barrier to entry for any new startup trying to build foundational AI just became completely insurmountable.
Wow.
You can't just write good code anymore. You have to survive geopolitical warfare.
Which takes us straight from boardroom warfare down to the actual code hitting production servers. Because while the tech titans are fighting in Washington over who gets to govern these frontier models, the models we already have deployed are causing absolute chaos in the trenches.
Yeah, real chaos.
We saw a massive breakdown today from Krujili Oros about Meta's SEV0 outage. And for anyone outside of software engineering, a SEV0 or severity 0 is basically the nightmare scenario.
It's as bad as it gets.
Right. It means the entire system is critically down globally. So in this case, Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger went completely dark.
And we really have to look at the root cause of why these cascading failures are suddenly happening at a company with infinite engineering resources. Like, Meta shouldn't be going down like this.
Right, because Judgely points out that this global blackout happened less than 2 weeks after Meta suffered a completely separate AI chatbot exploit. And that one resulted in 20,000 Instagram accounts being taken over.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. He lays out the mechanics of what is actually happening inside Menlo Park right now. So, Meta has gone through massive waves of layoffs over the last 2 years, right?
Sure.
The engineers who actually survived have been forcefully reassigned to AI initiatives. Management is demanding rapid AI integration, so they are deploying autonomous AI agents to write back-end code.
Which sounds great in theory.
In theory, yeah. The problem is an AI can generate 10,000 lines of code in a minute. It submits those code changes, the pull requests, at machine speed. But a human engineer still has to review and approve that code before it goes live.
And that, right there, is where the system physically breaks. You just cannot inject machine speed complexity into a workflow managed by fatigued human biology.
No way.
I mean, think about it. If you are a software engineer who just survived 3 rounds of layoffs, you are managing the workload of 5 people, and you are operating on maybe 4 hours of sleep.
You're completely burned out.
Exactly. You log in, and you see an AI has submitted 400 complex pull requests to the code base. You simply don't have the time or the cognitive energy to rigorously test every single line.
You can't.
So what do? You skim it, you assume the AI knows what it's doing, and you just hit approve to clear your queue. Raw code velocity without attentive, rested human oversight isn't efficiency. It's a recipe for SEV0.
But you know what? That efficiency is sort of a double-edged sword, because we are seeing hard data today where this machine speed autonomy is actually working beautifully in other places.
Like where?
Well, Amjad Masad, the CEO of Replit, posted from his account explaining that he barely even uses traditional prompting anymore. Like, he isn't typing out long instructions to an AI chatbot. He relies entirely on what he calls agentic loops.
Okay, we need to define what a loop actually is mechanically for the listeners.
Yeah.
Because it is essentially the next frontier of this technology.
Right, go ahead.
So when you use ChatGPT normally, you write a prompt, it gives you an answer, and then it stops. That's a linear transaction. But a loop means the AI operates continuously on its own.
Exactly. So Masad explains that he writes a minimal outcome statement. It's barely a sentence, like, build me a login page with database authentication.
Okay.
That single sentence triggers an orchestrator AI. That orchestrator then spawns multiple parallel AI agents. One agent writes the front-end code, another one writes the back-end. But here's the critical part. They have a computer use verifier built right into the loop.
So it checks its own work.
Yes. The AI actually runs the code it just wrote. It looks at the error messages when it inevitably crashes. It reads the logs, and then it rewrites its own code to fix the bug. It loops continuously, writing, testing, failing, fixing, until the software works perfectly.
Wow.
Yeah. He claims this multi-agent workflow puts Replit months ahead of the rest of the industry in software development.
I mean, it is a profound shift from just asking an AI for an answer to assigning an AI an objective and letting it correct its own mistakes.
It really is.
But we have to ground this hype in reality for a second. If you are building a startup right now, you have to look at the economics of running these loops. Because AI isn't free.
Definitely not.
Peter Steinberger shared a viral breakdown of the raw math behind these models today, and it is honestly brutal. He proved that OpenAI's GPT models are currently 10 to 20 times more cost-effective than Anthropic's Fable models for achieving the exact same coding outcomes.
Yeah, the cost difference is insane. He actually showed the receipts for a specific multi-server feature implementation.
Right.
Having Fable run the loops to build the feature cost $350 in compute power. But having GPT do the exact same job cost $20.
$20 compared to $350.
Yeah.
And that price discrepancy really comes down to how these models are physically structured. Massive models like Fable require immense amounts of server electricity and GPU time just to process a single query. Like, they have billions of parameters lighting up.
Is burning cash.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller, highly optimized models require a fraction of that compute overhead. If you are a developer listening right now, practical unit economics will soon matter far more than raw model intelligence.
That makes total sense.
It doesn't matter if an AI is technically a genius if it bankrupts your startup's cloud budget just to run a single database query.
Yeah.
The market is going to aggressively correct toward the lowest cost per token that achieves a viable baseline result. Nobody's going to pay $350 for something they can get for $20.
And we are seeing that viable baseline get integrated into everyday tools at lightning speed. Just look at what Google proved today.
What'd they do?
So the Google Research account announced they achieved a state-of-the-art 80.04% accuracy on the BERT benchmark using their Gemini SQL 2 model.
Okay, that's huge.
It is. And for the non-technical listener, SQL is basically the programming language used to manage massive relational databases. Think of it like an infinitely complex digital filing cabinet where all of a company's data lives.
Right.
So the BERT benchmark tests how well an AI can take a vague natural language question from a human like, what was our most profitable demographic in the Midwest last quarter? And perfectly translate that into a highly complex SQL query to extract the exact right data. Hitting 80% on this means AI is now provably capable of replacing the day-to-day data extraction tasks of human data analysts.
It completely disrupts the traditional data analytics pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't need a middleman to translate business questions into database code anymore.
Exactly. And, on the creative side, the main Google account posted a thread showcasing their new tools from the I/O conference. They showed off Nano Banana, which generates iterative textures for branding and 3D modeling. And they also showed Lyria 3, which is generating complex music tracks based entirely on the visual movement of jellyfish in a video.
That's wild.
The spectrum of what this technology is touching is just crazy. I mean, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, shared how he's using AI for executive communication.
Oh, I saw this, the Paul Graham thing.
Yes. He uses a quote from the essayist Paul Graham as the system prompt for his personal AI agent. The quote is about making writing unsummarizable, essentially forcing the writer to strip out all the corporate fluff and pleasantries so only the dense, critical ideas remain.
I love that.
Right. So Armstrong literally just dictates his raw, messy thoughts into his phone, and his AI agent aggressively edits the transcript into perfectly concise, unsummarizable memos for his executive team.
It really highlights the duality of where we are right now. Artificial intelligence is simultaneously scaling human intent to the point where it causes global SEV0 outages, while also being used to quietly edit a CEO's emails to absolute perfection.
Right.
It amplifies both the organized and the chaotic.
Which seamlessly brings us to our final segment today. Because scaling human intent and weaponizing systems isn't just limited to tech giants and server racks. We are seeing the exact same mechanics play out in the analog world of cultural warfare and sports.
Sports lawfare, basically.
Exactly. Fabrizio Romano broke massive news in the sports world today. FC Barcelona is officially filing a mandatory conciliation request against Real Madrid president Florentino Pérez.
Wow.
And if you don't follow European football politics, a mandatory conciliation request is basically the formal legal precursor required in Spain before you launch a full-blown criminal slander lawsuit.
Right, and we really need to unpack the history of why these two massive heritage brands are going to war in court, because the context here revolves around the Negreira case.
Yeah, so for context, it came to light that FC Barcelona previously paid roughly 7.3 million euros to a company owned by Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira. And he was the vice president of the Spanish refereeing committee over the span of 17 years.
Which looks incredibly bad.
Well, yeah. Barcelona claims these were standard payments for technical reports on referees. But Real Madrid president Florentino Pérez went on the record publicly calling it the biggest scandal in football history. He heavily implied that Barcelona was buying off referees and stealing titles.
Right.
So Barcelona has decided they aren't going to just trade press releases anymore. They are invoking Article 205 of Spain's Penal Code, demanding an official retraction from Pérez, or they are literally dragging him into a criminal trial for slander.
I mean, if we analyze the underlying strategy here, this isn't actually about football, and it isn't really about referees either.
Not at all.
This is brand management executed through aggressive litigation.
Yeah.
I mean, who actually benefits when billion-dollar multinational conglomerates drag each other into criminal court?
The lawyers.
The lawyers, certainly. But more importantly, it mirrors the exact same corporate warfare playbook we just discussed with Amazon and Anthropic. Real Madrid and Barcelona aren't just soccer teams. They're massive global brands fighting for market share, sponsorships, and global sentiment.
Very true.
If you are Barcelona and your rival is dominating the media narrative by calling you corrupt, you don't fight them on the field.
What do you do?
You use institutional leverage. You weaponize the Spanish Penal Code to force them to shut up. It is the exact same tactic as Amazon weaponizing the Department of Commerce. You use the rules of the system to neutralize a rival's narrative and protect your own moat.
It is incredible how human nature scales across every single domain. I mean, whether it's cloud computing or European football, the strategy is identical. If you are losing the narrative, change the jurisdiction. Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We moved from the trillion-dollar tokenized space race to the brutal realities of AI code generation, all the way to lawfare in the sports world. So based on all the data we've synthesized from The Wire today, what is your ultimate prediction for tomorrow?
Well, the underlying math we discussed today points to an inevitable reality for the tech sector. The ruthless unit economics of AI, that $20 versus $350 dynamic that Steinberger pointed out, is going to trigger a sudden, brutal correction in AI startup valuations.
A total wipeout.
Yeah, over the next few quarters, any company that raised millions of dollars just to build a wrapper around an expensive, inefficient model is going to get wiped out by competitors using cheaper, faster baseline loops. And furthermore, Amazon's strategy of weaponizing government regulation against its own partners is not an isolated incident.
You think it's a trend?
It is going to become the new standard operating procedure for big tech. If you can't out-innovate your partner, you regulate them into the ground.
A completely sobering reality check on where the industry is heading. Well, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over as you go about your day. Between billionaires trading tokenized space equities 24 hours a day on decentralized blockchains and autonomous AI agents looping to write and deploy code faster than fatigued human engineers can ever realistically review it, are we finally building systems that operate too fast and too complex for any human mind to actually govern?
That might just be the defining question of this entire decade.
Thanks for joining us for today's deep dive. We will see you next time on the Daily Vibecasting. Stay curious.